From letting Henry Cavill leave the show because of some clearly stupid reasons, to replacing him with someone that fans do not like at all, here's the real reason why The Witcher is finished. There was a time when it was the biggest show on Netflix, and everyone loved Henry Cavill's portrayal of Geralt. After all, not only did he try to copy a lot of stuff from the original novels, but he also took a ton of inspiration from the Witcher video games. The actor and the show were honestly a match made in heaven, and they were destined to achieve great things together. Sadly though, the writers decided to sabotage the future of the show by letting Henry Cavill go because of some creative differences. Of course, there have been plenty of shows in the past that have lost their lead, replaced them with a new actor, and continued without a hiccup. The Witcher, on the other hand, just relied too much on Henry's charisma and his ability to channel his inner Geralt, so much so that at this point, most people picture him with that silver wig when they think of the character, which is incredible, considering just how popular the video games are. That said, it just wasn't meant to be, because months after the premiere of Season 2, the Man of Steel actor announced on his Instagram that he'd be laying down his medallion and swords for the 4th season, and another actor will take on the mantle of the White Wolf in his place. Interestingly, there was some speculation about Henry's departure, with people saying it was because of creative differences, and his new busier schedule thanks to a new Superman movie. Well, that's what it was anyway, until Cavill got booted from the DCU as well. Now, this was a massive bummer for everyone, but especially the fans because Henry had been such a cornerstone for the series. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't be wrong to say that he was the guy who injected that special sauce into The Witcher. I mean, just look at the numbers for the first 2 seasons. According to Parrot Analytics, the first season debuted as the 3rd most in-demand original streaming series in the US, only behind Stranger Things and The Mandalorian. And in December 2019, Netflix also confirmed this, saying it was the 2nd most watched show on the platform, with over 76 million viewers tuning in for the first season. Oh, and things only got better for Season 2 as critic reviews also shot up through the roof. Seriously, Season 1 had a score of 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, with most people saying the time jumps were confusing and the pacing was off, although Cavill was still the saving grace there. Season 2, though, got a resounding 95% from Rotten Tomatoes, which helped the series reach even bigger heights. In fact, before Bridgerton and Squid Game decided to spoil the party, The Witcher was Netflix's most watched original series, with 541 million hours clocked for Season 1 and 484 million for Season 2. It was massive! Not to mention, Cavill got a bunch of award nominations for his performance too. And again, he was the it factor for the show, because he just had a way of moulding himself into Geralt that no one else can replicate. His fighting technique, little grunts, and even the smirk felt like they'd been taken straight out of the books and reimagined on screen. So the question is, if things were really that good with the actor's involvement, then why did the showrunners let him go? Well, it's because the writers didn't even like the books, and that should be a massive red flag for all the Witcher fans out there. After all, Andrzej Sapkowski's novels may not be perfect in terms of their pacing, but they do a stellar job of establishing the lore and setting up the pieces for some truly epic moments. In fact, the books tend to get better as you progress through them, and yeah, Cavill recognized that too because guess what? He wanted the writers to stick as close to the source material as they could. I mean, we've already got examples of some really successful shows, like The Last of Us, that have done so well by simply being faithful to the source material and not deviating much from it. What's more, even though the showrunners might think something works better for the TV format since it's an adaptation, chances are that the fans are going to reject the new ideas, especially if the original material is so loved. And that, folks, was the case for The Witcher too. Fans loved the books and the games just as much as Cavill did, but the writers and showrunners had other ideas. Apparently, there were some clashes on set too, with Henry being frustrated at the fact that they just kept going in all sorts of wild directions. Seriously, what was up with that Voleth Mare stuff at the end of Season 2? Oh, and get this! Beau DeMayo, who wrote a couple of episodes on the show, said that some of the other writers even mocked the source material. And now, all that drama is coming back to bite them, because apparently, a massive chunk of fans won't watch the show after Cavill's departure. Yep. Who would have thought that making fun of something beloved and not respecting a fandom would be a recipe for disaster, huh? But even though Henry's still going to fulfill his duty as Geralt in The Witcher Season 3, things don't look good for Season 4. After all, Culture Crave ran a poll asking users to vote on whether they'd watch the series after the actor's departure or not. And guess what? Almost 82% of the people said no, which is an absolutely insane decline. I mean, at that point, the producers of this show may as well pack their bags and go home, because there's no way a show could survive through a drop that big. As a matter of fact, the hype levels for Season 3 are also extremely low, with little to no buzz about it on social media. And it seems like Netflix has noticed that because their marketing team's been real slow as well. Plus, with the way that Season 2 ended, would you even want to watch what goes down in the story after that? Like, Geralt and Ciri hate Yennefer now, meaning a big chunk of Season 3 will be spent on fixing their relationships, which, again, is just not a very exciting plotline. Plus, if they try to rush through it within the first couple of episodes, then that'd just feel like a cheap resolution and undermine the impact of Season 2's ending. Seriously, there's no easy way out here. Rather than changing their ways and fixing the show though, it looks like the writers are going to double down on their misdirection. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are some good writers in there too who genuinely love the novels and want to make the show good. But the problem is, even after all this backlash, a lot of them are still adamant that they're on the right path and that the show doesn't need to stick to the books. In fact, the showrunner Lauren Hissrich also says that they deliberately chose people who didn't love the books too much. Instead, they wanted people who could question the source material and make necessary changes to it. Yeah, that sounds like a horrible idea to me. Not to mention, The Witcher producer Graham Marshall also says they're adding stuff to the show that doesn't exist in the books. But here's the real kicker. He says that the novels are like guidebooks for them, not the Bible. I mean, sure, there's a chance that Seasons 3 and 4 could turn out to be decent. Judging by their previous track record of adding useless stuff into the mix and making bizarre changes, though, I wouldn't hedge my bets on their success. But obviously, there's one more thing that could spell the end for The Witcher after Henry's departure, and that's the showrunner's choice for the new Geralt. Okay, so if you didn't already know, Liam Hemsworth is going to be the guy wearing the medallion from Season 4, which is going to look bizarre. Like, the dude doesn't even feel like a Geralt, let alone look like one, and fans seem to agree too. Of course, it really isn't Liam's fault, and he doesn't deserve all the hate he's getting, since he just chose an acting gig. Plus, he has at least acknowledged that he's got some big boots to fill. The issue, though, is that no one's going to be ready to see him as the new Geralt. Just think about it for a second. The show has spent 3 full seasons building that chemistry between Cavill's Geralt and Anya Chalotra's Yennefer. So, to see her romancing a totally different dude and acting like nothing's happened is just gonna break everyone's immersion and ruin the experience. Well, if that experience is written well enough to be engaging in the first place, that is, and there you have it. From letting him leave the show because of some very dumb reasons, to replacing Henry Cavill with someone that fans do not like at all. Here's the real reason why The Witcher is finished.